Defense Minister Rajnath Singh has spoken to the Chief of Army Staff to take stock of the ongoing encounter in Jammu's Doda, where four army personnel, including an army captain, have already been killed in this encounter, which followed a joint operation launched by the army and the J&K Police on Monday evening. The joint operations were preceded by an exchange of fire with terrorists in the Desa area of Jammu's Doda district. Additionally, three other soldiers were injured in the attack. Now, amid the combing and search operations, security has been heightened at the Jammu-Doda highway. Meanwhile, the proxy offshoot of the banned terror outfit, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, has claimed responsibility for the attack. Alarmingly, this is the ninth such encounter in Jammu within a span of 40 days, signifying a shift of focus among terrorists from the valley to Jammu. Meanwhile, amid a spate of terror attacks and heightened security, the Indian Army has deployed an additional 1,000 troops, including a Special Forces unit and a regular army battalion in the region. Now, but as we were telling you, even as security personnel continue anti-terror ops in Doda, politics has taken center stage, with the Congress alleging that the soldiers are bearing the brunt of the BJP's wrong policies. Congress LOP Rahul Gandhi alleged that the continuous terror attacks reveal the poor condition of Jammu and Kashmir and that the centre should take full responsibility for the repeated security lapses and take strict action against those guilty of killing our soldiers. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir DGP R.R. Swain has hit out at the politics, stating that those who felicitated recruitments in the valley were never probed. Not just that, he has continued his attack, stating that the state allowed sympathy for killed terrorists. Now, former Chief Minister of... let's listen into R.R. Swain.
Pakistan successfully came to infiltrate all important aspects of our civil society. Thanks to the regional so-called mainstream politics in the valley, there is overwhelming evidence to show that many had honed the art of running with the hare and hunting with the hound to a near science that left both the common men and the security men bewildered, frightened and confused. Visiting homes of killed terrorists and expressing sympathy in public became the new normal. While elimination of new recruits to terrorism was allowed and tacitly encouraged, those who facilitated the recruitment, arranged finances, were never investigated.
Let me go across to my guest. Joining me at this point, we have Kuldeep Khoda, former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir Police and also former Intel Chief as well. And we are also being joined by Major General Sanjay Soi, who is a defense expert. Major General Soi, I'll come to you first at this point. And I'm going to ask a very unpopular question given the circumstances. But given that this was not an ambush, this was a joint operation, so there was obviously, one would assume that there was some indication of an intelligence of a terrorist hideout being at the spot, which is why the army and the police joint team targeted that area. There's still an abnormally high amount of casualties here. Is there something wrong with the preparedness of our armed forces, or is it just a case of being caught off guard and sometimes things just going south in an anti-terror operation?
Yeah, Ritanshu, in fact, thank you for calling me. And this is a very, very important question. I think everybody must be thinking, because number of attacks which have taken place of late, and especially south of Punjab. So there are a couple of things I would like to highlight here is that one is that in view of the peaceful situation in south of Punjab, the number of density of the troops was reduced and number of troops were sent to Ladakh region, and obviously so. If the area is peaceful at a higher level, one thinks that we need to reconsider the deployment, and it was done so with the purpose. However, last week I was in Kashmir, I was in Srinagar, and I found the situation very, very peaceful.
Okay, we seem to have lost that connection temporarily with Major General Soi. We'll try and rectify that. But let me go across at this point to Kuldeep Khoda, former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir Police. Sir, thank you for speaking to me now. Now, according to you, why do you see this terror surge that we have been witnessing in the last 40 days? This is the ninth such attack in the Jammu region itself. Is it because we have now seen Kashmir being securitized to a point where it's very difficult for militants to carry out any of their activities there? And because Jammu is a relatively demilitarized region and the troop cover is thin, which is why we are seeing a surge of terror activities in that region? Okay, I think we're having some bad luck with network connectivity, but I think Major General Soi is back with us. Major General Soi, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Major General. Sorry, my apologies for the network connection here. But please go ahead and complete your points, sir, which you were making.
Yeah. In fact, what I was saying was that because of that, now Pakistan and their support for the militants were continuing. They have nothing else to do. In fact, very unfortunate for their own Awam and own population.
Yeah.
But the fact is that they are looking for the new areas because the vacuum created in south of Pir Panjal in the Jammu region and the terrain here, the tough terrain, thick jungles, caves, and mountains. They found it suitable to start the militant operation in this area. There are a couple of other reasons also. One is that the terrain, the less density of troops, and third is because this is a Hindu-dominated area. Probably they were trying to create a religious disharmony in this area because of bus strikes, like what you're showing now. That when the bus was attacked, ferrying the pilgrims. So all these things were happening now. Area, because I have served 7 times in Kashmir, Tangshu, it is very, very difficult operation to carry out operations against the militants, especially when the density is low. Now, I'll come to that. Give me a minute. I'll come to that. What is the new strategy which we need to think, which was there in 2002? When you are going up, chasing the militant is already hiding. He's behind some rock. He's behind some tree. And you are coming up, that is the time one is very, very vulnerable. If we stand in one place and keep firing at it, but you're chasing, you're trying to nab him, you're trying to destroy him, then these kinds of things can happen once a while. And I don't think so. The local commanders were the best people to continue with the operation. It has happened at 9 o'clock at night. And I would like to highlight here with the kind of weapon system they have now, militants have. They have now night vision devices, thermal night vision devices were recovered earlier from them. The M4 rifle, which was the NATO American rifle, all these were probably bought from the Afghanistan when the Americans left. Those weapon systems are there with a battery backup, mines also American marked mines. So these are the latest weapon system which can see at night, and this is probably the reason. I won't say that there's a lack of preparedness, but however, with the rethink and the strategy is being drawn. Now the thought is to keep the troops ab initio on top of the mountains, like it was there earlier. So that if the militant is attacked, something is carry out some operations running into the jungle, there's a block already ahead of him. Some troops are already ahead of him. So it's surrounded very well and destroyed. So that is one part. Second part, of course, which I always say, that we got to remain proactive, because ultimately it is with the support of Pakistan, which is why it is happening, and they've been able to provide training and weapon systems and money. So probably we got to make it expensive for Pakistan. We did Uri, we did Balakot, but now we got to think of something different, which probably they also can't imagine what will India do. Ritangshu.
Absolutely. Major General, thank you so much firstly for in such elaborate detail laying out the land for our viewers, for people like us who have never been to these regions. You, of course, it's great to have you on the show because you've served extensively in the region. You can describe to our viewers in graphic detail as to what exactly are the challenges they're facing. Do stay on with us, Major General Soi. Let me try going across to Kuldeep Khoda, former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir Police. Sir, if you can hear me, apologies for the network connection earlier. My question to you was that it's evident now that Jammu is becoming perhaps the new hotbed of terror in the region here because Kashmir is so securitized. Has there been perhaps a tactical oversight by under-deploying troops in Jammu, by shifting them to the LAC to take on along the Chinese border, shifting them to Kashmir, because that has been the traditional hotbed of militancy? And is that what is now backfiring on the security forces right now?
Ritangshu, obviously, there is a change in strategy of Pakistan. They are shifting from action in Kashmir to Jammu region for the reason they suffered huge losses during Operation All Out, and they were wiped out from all districts almost in entire Kashmir. And they have shifted to Jammu region because it is thinly spread. The troops are thinly spread here. And also during Galwan operation, lots of troops from Jammu region were shifted to Ladakh region to reinforce the troops there. So obviously they want to keep the terrorism alive in J&K, and Jammu is the region which is quite wide and vast and hilly, and there are huge forests compared to Kashmir. So this area serves them well for carrying on sort of guerrilla warfare, and they are using mainly the forest areas to carry out their actions. In these actions, we have seen all types of actions: action on the minority, on the yatris, on the ambushes, and also the type of loss
Yeah.
which took place yesterday in Doda when there was a joint operation by the army and the police. It has to be seen whether it was
Yes.
a real intelligence, it was true intelligence, or was it a trap. That's to be seen. That will be known by the circumstances and by the local officers who carried out the operation, who planned the operation. It will be obvious from the events. As it appears, the operational party was taken unawares and they got caught in the fire, and they didn't get the time to retaliate. Obviously, it appears that the intelligence fed to them was
Okay.
not very accurate, which resulted in these casualties. But all said
Yes.
and done, we have to look at the broader picture, that is Pakistan is relentlessly upgrading its activities, terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir. The borders are being used to infiltrate.
Mm.
We have now, if we focus on the areas of operation, we find that Rajouri and Poonch areas, and then Kathua. And Punjab area is also being used for infiltration. That is what the ground reports suggest. In Punjab, they are using the route after crossing
No.
they are using the Himachal Pradesh route to reach Basoli and then onwards to Doda.
Yes, and
And
I'm
likewise,
glad you
they are,
mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mr. Khoda. I'm glad you
and
mentioned that, Mr. Khoda, because the previous attack that we saw in Kathua, the terror ambush that happened a week ago, which is in an area of Jammu which had not seen traditionally militant activity, it was quite close to Himachal on the other hand. Now, my question is, that is a region in Kathua which has about 85% local population to be Hindus and Sikhs. Where are these terrorists getting the local supplies and local support to carry out attacks and ambushes so deep into Jammu at this point? And obviously, there would be perhaps people who are shielding them and harboring them and letting them get away with refuge as well. Is that a concern for the Jammu and Kashmir police at this point?
that's not really a concern. If we look at the topography and look at the demography of this area, like in Kutwa area, there is village Ghati, which is a particular type of population which is favorable to
Okay.
terrorists and which is along the Uj River. Immediately after they cross over the Kotwa, they reach the village Ghati, and there they will get the local support. Likewise, in Machedi, where you saw the ambush, in which army personnel got the casualties. There is village Khanada in
Okay.
Machedi, which is a place where OGWs are there, and that provides them good an area where the demography is favoring the terrorists. So we need to identify these areas, focus on these areas,
All right.
identify the OGWs. The terrorists, all said and done, they cannot live in the forest areas of their own. They have to have local support. They have to get the
Yes.
food and other supplies, and they have to move around. They have to have the guides. They don't know the
Okay.
areas. They don't know the routes to travel, and they don't know how to reach where they want to reach. They don't know where to lay the ambush. So the
Okay.
local support is obviously there. So the local support has to be identified. They have to be neutralized, and of course, we have to take, as the other panelists mentioned, the source of this terrorism, Pakistan. We have to think now very seriously as to
Yes.
how
And
Pakistan can be neutralized so
okay.
that they don't dare to carry out these actions again.
Major Generals, Major General Soy, a quick last question because we've got some breaking news as well, which I have to move on. But my quick last question is, yes, of course, offensive actions, whether it be against Pakistan or whatever other outfits offering terror, is something which we cannot talk or speculate in greater detail, given though they will be carried out in secrecy. But in terms of defensive actions here, with the deployment of 1,000 troops to Jammu region, with the setting up of specialized strike response teams here, do you feel that these are moves that will soon pay off in the weeks to come in terms of securitizing the Jammu region once again and ensuring that that is not becoming a hotbed for terror?
Bilkul, Tanshu, in fact, you are absolutely right. They need to have both actions, defensive as well as offensive. Offensive will come, I mean, as and when the planning takes place. However, at present, immediate need is of defensive action because we cannot have these attacks going on and
Absolutely.
in the common people, on the security forces. Two, three things I would say. There's a probably because of the there was hardly any militant activity. The lack of density was less, and there was lack of coordination also probably among the forces. What happens if things are not happening, if things are hot like J&K, Kashmir side, all the J&K police, army, CRP, BSF, they all do coordinated operations. Here, because of time gap, the things have been reviewed, things have been sorted out. And as you see, this operation also, Jammu Kashmir police has been doing a wonderful job. They're a great asset to each other, army and Jammu Kashmir police, when they operate together, because they have the local knowledge, they have the local people, they know who could be the sympathizers, and that makes a lot of difference. We need to identify the OGWs, as Mr. Kuldeep has rightly said, and we need to neutralize them. We need to stop the support and review the situation, which has been done at the highest level, probably at Mr. Amit Shah, Prime Minister level. The things have been reviewed. All the DGs, all the top officials have been called. And as I mentioned, the grid type of deployment would be there. Top, left, right, down below, everywhere. We have to establish a grid so that if militant takes one action, he's not able to escape. He is neutralized effectively without much casualties to own troops. That is the thing which will happen, and I'm sure the designs will fail. And it is taking a bit of time, but this will happen.
All right. Major General Sanjay Soi and Kuldeep Khoda, sir, thank you so much for joining us on Mirror at 1 and giving us your perspectives. And we'll keep coming back to you as the situation develops through the evening.